From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. INEC sets to draft guidelines and Section 65 of Electoral Act of 2022 touching on reviewing declared election results. President Tinubu awarded St. Lucia's highest national honor as Nigeria officially cements ties with the country. Thousands of babies in Gaza risk death with baby formula supplies running dry under fresh Israel blockade.
In business, Nigeria's private sector growth slows to 7-month low in June despite easing inflation.
And in sports, Nigerian athletics suffer major blow as rising star Malbon Nse gets 2-year ban for doping.
Thanks for joining us. Tonight begins now. We'll begin tonight in St. Lucia, where President Bola Tinubu has been awarded the highest national honor of the title of Knight Commander of the Order of St. Lucia. This was announced during his diplomatic visit to the Caribbean nation, part of a broader two-country tour. Addressing St. Lucia's parliament, President Tinubu emphasized the shared destiny of Africans and the Caribbean people, calling for deeper economic and cultural ties. Both nations agreed to formalize diplomatic relations and implement a visa waiver for officials, along with scholarships and technical aid support from Nigeria to OECS member states. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has announced a scholarship program for students from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, to study in Nigerian universities, which he says will commence in the next academic year. At a joint press conference with the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, President Tinubu says the initiative has begun. News Central's correspondent Bettina Uweli has the story.
President Bola Tinubu on Monday in St. Lucia announced a scholarship program for students from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, to study in Nigerian universities. The president, who is on a state visit to the Caribbean island nation, said the initiative is part of a broader cooperation framework to strengthen people-to-people ties and expand opportunities in education, trade, and development.
I strongly advocate for educational exchange programs between Nigeria and OECS. I will establish full scholarship tuition for students of OECS.
President Tinubu further disclosed that a proposal for visa waivers for holders of diplomatic and official passports from OECS member states is also on course.
In a concrete step towards this goal, Nigeria is open to exploring a visa waiver arrangement for holders of diplomatic and official passports from OECS member states traveling to Nigeria. I respectfully urge a reciprocal gesture to enable smoother movement of officials and foster closer institutional cooperation.
I think from what the President said, and from the historical ties we've had before, people-to-people relationship, Lucians playing some important role in our country, I think this will mark a new beginning, something that will resonate in the future.
The relationship with Nigeria and St. Lucia and also the East African Caribbean states is vital. It's vital for our access into the Caribbean regarding our trade, cultural, and even our access, even with the United Nations.
Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip Perry, welcomed the scholarship initiative, describing it as a timely and practical expression of solidarity.
We held a high-level luncheon where the President outlined to us how the OECS would benefit from the country of Nigeria. We expect the scholarships to happen in the next academic year. We expect students to be studying in Nigeria in the next academic year, based on the fact that the President has instructed that that should happen, and the committee will deal with it. So in the next year, we expect the scholarships to begin.
There are many areas that both nations can explore collaboration in tourism, trade, education, and multilateral diplomacy. As such, President Tinubu's visit is seen as advancing a Pan-African vision by fostering collaborative development. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
The World Bank has restarted its commitment to supporting programs that will boost the world's economy with special interventions in the areas of agriculture, business, and other spheres of human endeavors. This intervention was witnessed in Plateau State, north-central Nigeria, for the third-year program of the State Action on Business Enabling Reforms, organized by the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. News Center's Chizoba Anyowe tells us more.
The State Action on Business Enabling Reforms, in its third year of operation, organized by the Director General of PEBEC, running for the 9th year, seeks to provide an enabling environment for private businesses to thrive. Speaking during a technical session and statewide town hall meeting after a courtesy call on the governor, represented by the Secretary of the Government of the state, Samuel Jato, at the Government House in Jos, the Plateau State capital, key stakeholders believe that the event would create a better avenue for private business owners to thrive.
The only thing we can do is put our financing and our technical assistance behind government programs. We're not implementing ourselves. It's PEBEC, it's NGF, it's Ministry of Finance, Debt Management Office at the federal levels and the states, and it's your different MDAs here in Plateau that are doing the real work of making it easier for you to do business.
We're here to look critically at what both the federal and the state could do to make things better and easier for businesses to thrive. We're here to listen to you. We're here to take your feedback, take your response back, and use that to formulate policies that we hope will definitely improve the business environment in Nigeria and help you guys flourish in your respective fields.
The policies at the federal will impact on what is happening at the subnational level. And so what the federal government is doing, we're happy about it, because we're going to make a lot of things easier for our small businesses here. But we have quite a number of very serious small businesses on the plateau that have great potential for growth and development.
Contributing their concerns at the statewide town hall meeting, these private business owners believe the program will bring about positive change.
What the government is doing now, trying to get tax under one big umbrella so that we're not having all these multiple taxation, so that would really help. That is another problem that we face, so it drives up manufacturing costs.
One of the areas that is actually giving us issue is the road. If government can just, even if it is 85% of the road, if they can just fix it, it will go a long way in alleviating kind of challenges we are facing.
It's one thing to make a policy, it's another thing to implement the policy, and another thing again to sustain it. So if this is sustained, it's going to go a long way of bringing out many business people out of the woods.
Noting the depleting economy in Nigeria and the challenges experienced by the private sector achieving their targets in business, all eyes will now remain on World Bank and PEBEC for a positive turn. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. INEC set to draft guidelines in Section 65 of Electoral Act of 2022, touching on reviewing declared election results. President Tinubu awarded St. Lucia's highest national honor as Nigeria officially cements ties with the country. And thousands of babies in Gaza risk death with baby formula supplies running dry on the fresh Israel blockade. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has said that it would issue a supplementary regulation to clarify the review process for election results under Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022. The Commission stated that its intervention became necessary due to growing concerns over conflicting interpretations of the provision. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu disclosed this on Tuesday during the second quarterly consultative meeting with resident electoral commissioners REX at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. This move comes as the Commission prepares to conduct 5 major elections within the next year. Of the People's Democratic Party are raising alarm over what they describe as the deepening crisis within the party and the nation. Meeting in Abuja on Tuesday, the group decried internal instability caused by poor leadership, disregard for the party's constitution, and interference from the ruling All Progressives Congress. Describing Nigeria as a nation in distress, leaders of the PDP say the time has come for genuine patriots to forge a new path towards national salvation. The leaders also accused the APC-led federal government of economic mismanagement, worsening insecurity, and a steady erosion of democratic values. In response, they resolved to support a coalition of like-minded political actors committed to unity, accountability, and credible elections in 2027. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has reported a profit after tax of 1.05 trillion naira for May 2025. The report comes amid scrutiny by the Nigerian Senate over missing funds to the tune of more than 200 trillion naira by the NNPCL. In its new report, the national oil firm said the figure increased by 29.03% from 748 billion naira in April. The company said it recorded revenue of 6 trillion naira in the same period, up by 1.87% from 5.89 trillion naira. The NNPC said it made statutory payments of 5.58 trillion for May 2025. According to the NNPC, crude oil and condensate production averaged 1.62 million barrels per day in May, while natural gas production was 7.35 million standard cubic feet daily. The company clarified that the figures are provisional and reflect only its operations, excluding data from independent operators. Joining me now to discuss this is petroleum expert and policy analyst, Professor Ezelim Agbon. It's good to have you on the news again. The NNPCL reporting a profit after tax of 1.05 trillion naira for May, marking a 40.37% increase. Does this really mean more money for the country, or is there something else we need to know about?
Well, it is, thank you for having me. It is extremely difficult for you to measure the economic well-being of a commercial entity with a monthly account, a monthly statement, or a monthly profit. An end-of-year profit audited by an independent auditor is a better yardstick for measuring the economic well-being of a company. The NNPC said they would give us a monthly breakdown. That was just for openness and for accountability, but it really doesn't tell you much because they did not include revenue and expenditure of independent operators that align with them. So we are not really sure what this 1.05 trillion covers. So no, you are not going to be able to tell much until you have about 12 monthly, maybe at the end of the year when they do a yearly account and it's audited and there is reconciliation, then we can look at the hard data and say, well, they did well or they did not do well.
What about their submission?
To have monthly accounts just to see trends.
What about their submission that the financial figures provided are provisional and unaudited and do not include data from independent oil and gas operators? Is this a model that helps to engender accountability? Can the average Nigerian make sense of what's going on with the accounting process?
No, the average Nigerian cannot make sense of what is going on. And even the experts will be at like I'm saying, the experts will be, they have a hard time trying to measure the well-being of NNPC based on monthly accounts. You have to wait for an end-of-year account that have been independently audited, that there have been reconciliation, and the figures are final. I think this is just a measure of the trend. All we can say is that all that the board is trying to show and the management is that we are on track for the last 2 months. They've only submitted 2 monthly accounts, April and May. And so they can argue that we are on track so far for the 2 months, but that doesn't tell us much.
Okay, I wanted to ask, is there any connection between this revelation and the ongoing investigation?
Well, the ongoing investigation is really out of place because the ongoing investigation by the Senate is talking about receivables and stuff like that. And basically, they are looking at audited account and they're just looking at 2 columns. And they are not really asking pertinent questions, and therefore they are forcing the NNPC to say, we are going to come with all the data. What the Senate should be doing, because remember, the NNPC is supposed to be commercial, and it has a board. If the Senate want to talk about what the NNPC is doing, they should talk to the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Petroleum, or call the chairman of the board of the NNPC and say, come and give us a talk, because the NNPC is responsible to the shareholder, and it is 100% owned by the government, and the 100% share is 50% to the Ministry of Petroleum and 50% to the Ministry of Finance. As a commercial entity, NNPC is answerable to a shareholder. So if the Senate want to talk, they should talk to the ministry. Of course, the ministry can bring the NNPC to them. If the Senate really want to investigate NNPC, they should ask NNPC about why NNPC is claiming 7.8 billion between May 2023 and September 2024 as subsidy. They should ask NNPC, what did you do with the 4.5 billion for the repair of the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refinery? These are the questions they should ask the NNPC. Say, bring all the paper, take 1 month. Come here and tell us how you spend the money. How did you spend the 4.45 billion that Nigeria gave you to repair our 4 refineries? And where did this 7.8 trillion subsidy payment come from that you did not give government after President Tinubu said subsidy is gone? Those are the questions they should be answering. Or when you are asking questions about an already audited account, well, you know, NNPC will bring the auditor that did the independent auditor, and they will bring all their papers.
Okay, let's talk about something
did not
a little.
See any money lost from what they were saying.
All right, the NNPC says it is driven by vision to strengthen domestic energy infrastructure while maintaining profitability. How close are they to this goal in your estimation?
Well, the NNPC claim that they are now 100% functional with respect to pipelines. We have about 5,000 kilometers, about 300, 400 miles of pipelines. And NNPC is claiming all those pipelines are functional, which means they can move petrol from Olobiri or from the Niger Delta all the way to the Kaduna refinery. They can move PMS to their, they can move petrol from any of their 24 fuel stations, and they can move PMS to all the jetty in the country. They are claiming 100% control over their pipeline, claiming that their security is now 100%. So we hope at the end of the year, they will not come and tell us that they lost money because of oil being stolen or there is a leak. Personally, I do not think that, I think the pipeline has to be extended because the government have placed certain goals for NNPC that by 2030, they have to produce 4 million barrels per day and 12 billion cubic feet per day. And they have to be able to refine 1,360 barrels per day. Those are very big goals. And also government is planning to sell NNPC to private holders. They want to reduce the share of government ownership of NNPC from 100% and sell it to their political cronies. Of course, you know, NNPC is owned by the whole of Nigeria. And I'm hoping that government will not sell the shares of NNPC.
But do you see that happening? Do you see that actually happening, or there will be a fight against, you know, selling off the NNPC? Because it's going to affect a lot of people.
Yes. There is going to be a struggle about it, but government is determined to do that. They have two long-term goals. One, to leave OPEC, and two, to sell NNPC to private owners. I'm not talking of just selling the refinery, but to have NNPC privatized to the point that private ownership of the controlling shares of NNPC, in short, the percentage owned by government have to be below 30%, 50% or 30%. But they should remember that NNPC is based on a law that says all the petroleum in Nigeria belong to the federal government. And the federal government actually is only holding the natural resources, the petroleum and the petroleum on behalf of the Nigerian people. And there are 230 million of us, and not all of us can buy shares of NNPC. True. So when they want to put NNPC in the Nigeria Stock Exchange and sell the shares to political cronies so that they now own the wealth under the ground of Nigeria, that is going to be unpalatable. For them to produce 4 million barrels a day, like President Tinubu have told them to do by 2030, they have to increase our reserve from 37 billion to maybe 120 billion, because there's an OPEC quota. Right now, our OPEC quota is 1.5 million barrels a day. So the only way they can produce 4 million barrels a day, even if they have the capacity, which I doubt, is probably they are planning to leave OPEC. These are IMF policies that the government is just taking hook, and liner, and it has nothing to offer our grandchildren. They have a very short-term view of the development of the oil and gas sector.
You insist the government is very firm in wanting to sell the NNPCL, but what would be an estimation of time that this could happen? Definitely not within the lifespan of this administration.
No, their goal is to have this by 2030, but I don't think it's achievable. I don't even think they can be able to sell the shares. It's going to be a big political battle. I'm only raising the question because this is the goals they set for the new technical board that they put in place. And there is no need. You put very competent technical people and you create a scope or a target that is unachievable. You don't put technical people and then impose a political goal. It's like you have planned failure. So if you are going to, put a technical board and NNPC is commercial, let NNPC fit their own goal. But with respect to the pipeline, I think there is a need to expand our pipeline and to update them because they are fairly old. And there is a need to put flow meters on the pipeline so that we can actually know how much oil how much petrol we have every day.
All right, I guess that's a good place to leave the conversation for now. Thank you for speaking with us.
It has been a pleasure talking to you. Have a good day.
You too. Still ahead tonight, France returns military base to Senegal as part of move to withdraw troops from the West African state. That's after the break. Stay with us. Glad you're still with us. Let's tell you now that residents of Akpoti-Uduaghan district in the Federal Capital Territory now have a smoother, faster and safer way to move around. The Vice President of Nigeria, alongside the FCT Minister, officially commissioned the newly constructed Collector Road CN8, also known as Asukwo-Okon Street. My colleague, Shumaya Abubakar, tells us more.
The newly completed road infrastructure is expected to decongest traffic in the area, enhance connectivity between major arterial routes, and support real estate growth in Akpoti-Uduaghan. Officials say it's another step in the broader plan to provide quality infrastructure across the FCT.
A modern city inspires confidence, attracts investment, and most importantly, restores the dignity of those who call it home. That is why today's occasion is not just about commissioning a road. It is a grand reassurance that cities must work for their people and that a functioning capital is the foundation upon which a functioning nation is built.
Your Excellency, you can't believe that as a city, we could have such terrible, horrible roads. And to the Federal Council, by our support, this contract was awarded last year, September, and we flagged it up October last year. Today, we are commissioning it.
For residents, the new roads come as a relief from years of rough routes, limited access, and daily traffic bottlenecks.
Before now, we suffered because of the road. The bad road caused a lot of accidents, and the government decided to construct it for us. We are happy about it.
We are really happy. We have been living here for almost 20 years. We have never experienced this type of development.
Authorities say more communities across the FCT will benefit from similar projects aimed at connecting people, easing movement, and boosting development. In Abuja, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
The Senate on Tuesday confirmed 2 nominees for the Nigerian Law Reform Commission following the presentation of a committee report, even as 1 nominee declined her appointment. It also debated and passed for second reading a bill seeking the establishment of a Federal University of Technology in Udogwani, Cross River State. News Center's Sagie Ibrahim reports.
The screening exercise deliberated on the nominees' suitability for appointment as chairman and full-time commissioner of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission, and hereby makes the following observations and findings: that the appointments of the nominees satisfy the requirements of Section 2, subsection 1 and 2 of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act 2022 and the Senate Standing Orders of 2023.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, praised the work of the Judiciary Committee and confirmed the appointment as recommended.
Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Professor Dakar C.J. Dakar, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, representing North Central, for appointment as Chairman of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission? Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Dr. Uchenna Eugene Okulucha, representing South-South, for appointment as Commissioner of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Next up, is the bill seeking to amend the Federal Universities of Technology Act to create a new institution in Odukpani, Cross River State.
This Federal University of Technology in Odukpani will not only bridge the educational gap in our region, but also serve as a vital incubator for innovation, particularly in emerging sectors like fintech, which is one of the fastest growing industries in Nigeria today.
Technology is the most veritable tool that can be deployed to leapfrog our economic development.
To provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Technology Odukpani in Cross River State and for other related matters, 2025.
The bill was then referred to the Committee on Tertiary Education for further legislative action. Meanwhile, the Senate also postponed the Northwest Zonal public hearing on the review of the 1999 Constitution, scheduled for July 5th in Kano State. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says the postponement is in honor of Alhaji Aminu Dantata, billionaire businessman and philanthropist who died on Sunday, June 30th.
The Senate resolved to observe 1 minute silence in honor of the late Alhaji Aminu Dantata, and also resolved to postpone the Zonal Constitutional Conference of the Northwest to a date to be mutually agreed between the stakeholders of the Northwest as soon as the Deputy Senate President is back from Saudi Arabia.
Akpabio explained that the public hearing will take place in the remaining 5 geopolitical zones in the capital cities of Borno, Plateau, Enugu, Akwa Ibom, and Lagos as their respective locations. In Abuja for News Central, Sakir Ibrahim.
Outside Nigeria, France has handed over to Senegal a military base used by its army as part of a broader withdrawal of French troops from the West African country. Senegal's president, Bassirou Dioumaye Faye, announced late last year that former colonial power France would have to close its military bases in Senegal by 2025, a process that began in March with the first handovers to Senegalese authorities. The French embassy in Senegal, in a statement, confirmed on Tuesday that the country returned a military communications center located near Dakar. Doctors in Gaza are warning that thousands of babies could die as baby formula supplies run dry under Israel's blockade. At least 95 Palestinians were killed in Israeli attacks throughout Gaza, including more than a dozen desperate people seeking food at U.S.-Israel-backed aid distribution sites. In the deadliest single strike of the day, Israeli fighter jets bombed an internet cafe with a children's birthday party underway, killing at least 39 people. A senior Hamas official told Al Jazeera that they are determined to seek a ceasefire that will save their people, while accusing Israel of sabotaging the negotiations. We'll take a break. When we come back, we have business, sports, and entertainment. Leko joins us now for Business Update. What are the big stories today, Leko?
Well, one that actually focused is the fact that though Nigeria's economy is improving, but it is at a decelerated pace. And the fact is because the private sector is actually struggling. Why is the private sector struggling? I'll tell you more after this. Well, Nigeria's private sector growth slowed in June, with the Purchasing Managers Index dropping by 51.6% from 52.7 in May, marking the weakest expansion in 7 months. And despite remaining above the 50-point threshold, the decline highlights the fragile economic recovery driven by reduced output and new orders. Inflation eased for the second consecutive month, falling to 22.97% in May, suggesting the government's reforms may be taking effect. However, business sentiment remains cautious, with manufacturing contracting and only modest gains in agriculture and services. We also tell you that cocoa prices fell sharply today, with September ICE NY cocoa down 7.3% and London cocoa down 4.23%, reaching 1-week lows. The decline is attributed to expectations of increased cocoa production in Ghana, projected to rise by 8.3% to about 650,000 metric tons for the 2025-2026 crop year. Also, rising cocoa inventories in U.S. ports have added downward pressure on prices, and concerns about quality issues in the Ivory Coast's mid-crop cocoa and reduced exports from Nigeria further complicate the market. We now tell you that the government of Uganda has launched the National Biofuels Blending Program, mandating a 5% blend of locally produced ethanol in all petrol stations and, of course, petrol commodity from January 2026, announced by Minister of the Energy in the country, Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa Sentamu. The initiative aims to reduce fuel imports, cut greenhouse gas emissions, and support Ugandan farmers by using ethanol derived from cassava, sugarcane, and maize. The program aligns with Uganda's Vision 2040 to promote sustainable economic growth and job creation across the energy value chain. Oil marketers have until December 2025 to comply, while new fuel quality standards ensure safety. And looking at Nigeria's equities market, there's yet again been a marginal decline in performance on the floor of the exchange, with the all-share index closing at 119,741.23 points, down by 0.23%, signaling a slight bearish sentiment in the market. But then when you look at the total market capitalization, it also saw a bit of drop, 75.80 trillion naira from yesterday's 75.895 trillion naira that we tracked, as the market experienced some bit of price drops and reduced investor interest in some sectors than others. Now, talking about the sectoral performance, well, the banking sector surged impressively 17.99%, being one of the few sectors that actually saw some sort of appreciable growth in terms of activities. Conversely, the insurance sector fell by 2.24%, having shown weakened demand and profit taking. But then if you look at the oil and gas sector, it declined 1.86%, as against what a lot of people would have thought, even as we saw price drops in the global oil market. Consumer goods posted a remarkable 31.6% gain. However, industrial goods dropped 3.17%. That's how we tracked the market as of today. My name is Lekon Obanjo, and that's Business News.
Time for sports. Onyechi, another doping violation. What's with that?
That's a big blow for Nigerian athletics. A rising star has just gotten the hammer from the Athletics Integrity Unit. I'll tell you more shortly, Felicity.
Okay.
In sports, the Athletics Integrity Unit has officially banned Nigerian sprinter Imobong Nsoko for 2 years following a doping violation. The sanction listed in the Athletics Integrity Unit's July 2025 update on disciplinary actions retroactively disqualifies Uko from all results since June 5, 2024. The date of our infraction, Uko, who made headlines by winning the world under 2400-meter title in 2022, was provisionally suspended July 7, 2024. Her results from June 6 of the same year have been annulled. of course dealing a heavy blow to the promising sprinter's rising career. The AIU did not disclose the specific substance or nature of the anti-doping rule violation. However, it confirms Uko's ineligibility will last until July 23, 2026. At just 19 years old, when the infraction, of course, occurred, Uko had been seen as one of Nigeria's brightest track prospects. The suspension represents a significant setback, not only for Uko, but also for Nigerian athletes, which, of course, continues to grapple with some doping concerns in the elite ranks. Nigeria will officially received the King's Baton for the 2026 Commonwealth Games on Wednesday, joining 72 nations in the global relay ahead of the event set for Glasgow. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, is expected to receive the baton on behalf of President Bola Tinubu during the ceremony event in Abuja. The Nigerian leg of the symbolic relay underscores the nation's continued commitment to the values of the Commonwealth Charter. The reception ceremony is being held in partnership with the UK High Commission, the Nigerian Olympic Committee, and the Royal Commonwealth Society. According to organizers, the event celebrates Nigeria's shared heritage with other Commonwealth nations, while highlighting its dedication to promoting unity and leaving lasting legacies through sport. Nigeria's World Boxing Heavyweight Champion Faye Ajagba has taken the opportunity of his vacation in Nigeria to visit Ovie of Agada-Warri Kingdom. His Royal Majesty Kingsley Orea Igbi was the second. He was accompanied by Azania Omo-Agege, the former interim president of African Boxing Confederation. Ajagba, who was born in Ughelli, Delta State, has a fearsome record of 20 fights, 1 loss and 1 draw, with 14 of his wins coming by way of knockout. He is ranked number 3 by both the IBF and WBC, and his last fight took place against Martin Bakuli on the 3rd of May 2025 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, a 10-round bout that ended in a draw. Players will be smiling to the bank as Ebonyi State Governor Francis Nwufuru, he has rewarded 34 registered players of Abakaliki Football Club with 1 million naira each after they emerged runners-up in the 2025 President's Federation Cup on June 28, 2025. Of course, Abakaliki FC lost in the final 3-4 penalties to Kwara United after regulation time ended goalless at the Mobility Johnson Arena. Lagos were barely 8 months old. Abakaliki FC, they assumed the tag of giant killers in this year's cup after eliminating established sides like Eimba FC of Aba, Nasarawa United of Latvia, among others, en route to the final. During a reception for the team at their office, Nwufuru also, he announced a reward of 1 million for the team's head coach, ex-international Ifeanyi Onyedika, MON. The governor congratulated the team for the feat, noting that they made the government and Ebonyi people extremely proud. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaro. Tonight continues shortly.
Some dandies here with the entertainment stories. Afrobeat at it again.
That's right. The Grammys have decided to spotlight the genre, and they put out a top 10 list of the biggest Afrobeat songs. I'll tell you what songs, of course, make the list and the related controversy around it after this quick break. In entertainment, the Recording Academy, organizers of the Grammy Awards, spotlighted the explosive rise of Afrobeats, naming Star Boy, Wizkid, African giant Burna Boy, and youngster Rema as the genre's top stars since 2010. Now, in this curated list celebrating Afrobeats' evolution, the Grammys also ranked its 10 all-time greatest tracks. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Tubaba's classic African Queen from 2004 made the list. P-Square's Do Me, which I think, of course, 2007. And then we see modern songs like Ashake's Sungba from 2022 and Rema's breakout hit Ozeba from 2024. Now, each track reveals milestones in Afrobeats history. I mean, Wizkid's Ojo Legba brought global attention back in 2014. Runtown's Mad Over You is a classic, and very excitedly, Pump Up by the late Da Green was interesting to see on that list. Now, while some fans have praised the recognition of Afrobeats pioneers and current stars, Others have questioned the criteria used for the selection. I got to ask you, Felicity. I mean, I saw bumper to bumper. I'm a Wandeko fan. Hey, you're a fan too. But
they're doing well. Whatever the criteria that was, we know there are also other music that is great. But not everything will get on the list
that is true.
At the same time.
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of controversy because Davido, who of course is one of the big three, didn't make any song or any part of that list at all. So Nigerians are talking about it.
The fans will always want their fave to win.
Always.
But I just feel all of them are good. If they don't make the list this time, there will be another list. Besides, Davido is doing his thing globally and winning all the awards. So what's one list?
Honestly. Well, Davido hasn't said anything about it, not surprised. Like you said, he's doing great. The album 5 is still doing his thing around the world. So hey, we're super happy that Afrobeats is flying the Nigerian flag high. Those are the biggest stories of entertainment. I am Sam Dandy.
Well, that's where we wrap it up tonight. But before we go, a quick reminder of our top stories. INEC set to draft guidelines on Section 6.5 of Electoral Act of 2022, touching on reviewing declared election results. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu have been awarded St. Lucia's highest national honor as Nigeria officially cements ties with the country. We also brought you news that thousands of babies in Gaza risk death with baby formula supplies running dry under fresh Israel blockade. Would like to hear from you? Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can do that as well by following us on all social media platforms at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Thank you very much for your kind company. Have a good night.